The Warriors are off to a hot start this season, kicking things off with a strong 2-0 record. That alone is enough to stir up excitement throughout Dub Nation. But if you've been following this team closely, you know wins don't always tell the full story. And looking at their latest victory, a gritty, high-energy, overtime battle against a tough Western Conference opponent, there are some red flags that can't be ignored. Let's start with the obvious, Steph Curry. Once again, he carried the team, dropping 32 points and showing why he's still the heart and soul of this franchise. But here's the concern, it was almost all Steph. You look at the box score, and aside from a few flashes from Jimmy, Draymond, Kuminga, and Pods, the production was thin. And that's not going to cut it over an 82-game season. The uncomfortable truth is this. If a team figures out how to lock down Steph, and yes, some teams eventually will, who steps up? Who's the next man in line to take over and deliver in crunch time? Right now, that answer isn't clear. Defensively, there are more issues, serious ones. The Warriors gave up 50 points to Aaron Gordon. Let that sink in. 50. And this wasn't a night where Nikola Jokic dominated. He was relatively quiet by his standards and still dropped 21. So even when the reigning Finals MVP isn't firing on all cylinders, the Warriors still struggled to slow down Denver's offense. That's not just a one-off issue. That's a pattern in the making if they don't clean it up fast. This win, as thrilling as it was, came in overtime. And not just any overtime. It came on the heels of a double overtime slugfest earlier in the night between OKC and Indiana. The fact that Golden State had to push themselves to the limit just to squeeze past Denver says a lot. It says that while the scoreboard says victory, the overall picture is much more complicated. Looking at the Nuggets side of things, they had 3 players go for at least 20, Jamal Murray, Jokic, and of course Gordon. That trio caused problems all night. And if you're hoping to win a title this year, you simply cannot allow 3 opposing stars to all have that kind of impact in the same game. 1? Maybe. 2? Risky. 3? You're asking for trouble. The bench gave a modest push. Buddy chipped in with 11, Al Horford with 13, but they didn't have much of an answer for Denver's size and presence inside. And when you think about the long-term picture, especially in a playoff scenario, that's concerning. The Warriors will almost certainly have to go through Denver again if they want to lift another trophy, and they'll need a better plan than what we saw in that game. On the other side of the league, OKC, last year's champions, are already raising eyebrows for all the wrong reasons. 2 games, 2 double overtime wins. Sure, the opponents were playoff-caliber squad from last season, but this isn't the kind of dominance you expect from the reigning champs. If they're scraping by this early, you have to wonder, have teams figured them out? And if so, how will they adjust? Championship teams evolve. They find new ways to win when old strategies get exposed. So far, OKC doesn't look like a team that's ready to make that leap again. Back to the Warriors. Let's talk positives. They came out swinging early against Denver. They tried to get physical with Jokic and at times succeeded in disrupting his rhythm. He missed shots he normally makes, and they did a solid job denying him easy looks. But then Aaron Gordon decided to turn into prime Ray Allen. 10 of 11 from three-point range. 17 of 21 overall from the field. Add 8 boards and only 1 foul, and you've got yourself a near-perfect night. It might have been a fluke, but it's the kind of fluke that gets you bounced in the playoffs if it happens again. Looking ahead, tonight's game against the Blazers should be an easier task. Portland's in the middle of a rough rebuild, front office shifts, coaching staff in limbo, and a likely roster overhaul looming. The vibe there isn't good, and the Warriors need to take advantage. Start fast, put the game away early, and keep the momentum rolling into Monday's matchup against Memphis. Now it's a game that could get tricky. The Grizzlies have Zach Edey, a towering 7-footer who presents a matchup nightmare. That makes 3 games in a row now where Golden State will face a legit big man. The problem? Quentin Post is the only 7-footer on the Warriors roster, and he played just 4 minutes in the last game. That lack of size is becoming more and more apparent. Will they lean on Horford and Draymond to get physical? Will Post see more minutes? Something's got to give. Away from the court, there's also a fun little subplot developing in the locker room, a friendly bet between Jimmy and Draymond. Apparently, Jimmy bet Draymond that he could shoot a better free throw percentage this season than none other than Steph Curry. Now let's be real. That's a bold move. Curry is arguably the best free throw shooter in NBA history. But at the same time, this kind of friendly competition is exactly what you want to see on a team trying to build internal motivation. Believe it or not, Jimmy's not doing too bad so far. He went 7 for 8 from the line last game. The problem? Steph went 8 for 8. That's brutal. Right now, Steph is perfect on the season from the line, 100%. Jimmy's close behind at 95%, which is impressive in its own right. But beating Steph at the stripe? That's a different level. Still, even if Jimmy loses the bet, and let's be honest, he probably will, it's a win for the team. That extra motivation could mean the difference in tight games down the line. And yes, fans are already speculating what the loser of the bet will owe. Odds are it's not money. More likely a fancy steak dinner somewhere in San Francisco's Marina District. Imagine Jimmy walking into a high-end restaurant with a fake championship belt over his shoulder, announcing to the room, "I beat Steph at free throws." That's the kind of locker room chemistry that makes a team stronger. It's lighthearted, it's competitive, and it keeps the vibe in the building loose when the season grind kicks in. But unfortunately, not all the stories making headlines in the NBA right now are this harmless. There's a major scandal breaking, and it's shaking the foundation of the league. The FBI has made multiple arrests connected to illegal gambling activity involving former and current NBA players. Damon Jones, Terry Rozier, and Chauncey Billups are all now facing serious allegations. And the details are ugly. Jones is accused of leaking insider information about LeBron James. Rozier allegedly manipulated prop bets, and Billups was reportedly used to lure unsuspecting victims into illegal poker games. It's starting to look like this could be one of the biggest gambling scandals in sports history, potentially even worse than the Tim Donaghy saga from 2007. What makes this even more alarming is that the NBA had already investigated Rozier and cleared him, all while the FBI's case was still open. That's a massive blow to the league's credibility. How did the NBA miss what the feds found? It makes you wonder what other blind spots exist in their internal investigations. It's not a good look. And if more names come out, especially active players, the fallout could be devastating. Some fans are already asking the uncomfortable question, could anyone on the Warriors be involved? Obviously, big names like Steph, Draymond, and Jimmy are unlikely suspects. They're secure financially and have too much to lose. But what about the younger players, the ones still trying to find their footing in the league? It's a tough conversation, but it's one that needs to be had. The truth is this whole situation feels like just the beginning. Like we're only seeing the tip of a much larger iceberg. And the NBA needs to act fast and with authority. This isn't just about a few bad actors. It's about preserving the integrity of the league. When gambling infiltrates a sport this deeply, the ripple effects are massive. It undermines trust. It calls into question the legitimacy of results. And once that trust is broken, it's nearly impossible to earn back. It's worth remembering that the very reason the role of commissioner was created in professional sports was to prevent scandals like this. After the Black Sox scandal in 1919, where players allegedly threw the World Series, baseball created the commissioner role to restore public confidence. Other leagues, like the NBA, followed suit. That's how serious these situations are. And for this to be happening under Adam Silver's watch, it's a defining moment for his legacy. So far, Silver's been focused on growing the game, building global reach, and expanding the brand. But now it's time to see if he can handle a real crisis. Because this is no small matter. This is the kind of scandal that could stain the NBA for years if it's not dealt with properly. He took quick action with the Johnny Porter case, banning him from the league. But this runs far deeper. A Hall of Fame player turned coach. A current starter with a big contract. A network of illegal activity tied to gambling and insider info. It's bad, and it could get worse. As the season rolls forward, the challenges start to pile up, and for the Warriors, it's not just about maintaining their undefeated streak. It's about staying ahead of the curve. Beating Portland might look easy on paper, especially given their current state of disarray, but every game in the NBA is a test, especially early in the season when teams are still figuring out their identity. The Blazers are dealing with ownership changes, locker room instability, and a roster that feels like it's moments away from a full reset. It's a team in limbo, and usually, that makes them unpredictable and dangerous in short bursts. Still, for a veteran squad like Golden State, this should be the kind of matchup where they set the tone early, lean on their experience, and remind everyone why they're still contenders in a loaded Western Conference. What will be more telling, though, is how this team handles matchups against more structured and athletic squads. Memphis looms on the calendar, and with the physical presence of Zach Edey, it's going to stretch the Warriors' interior defense yet again. This will be the third straight matchup against a 7-footer, and so far, Golden State hasn't shown that they have a reliable solution to that specific problem. It's not just about size, it's about endurance, spacing, and discipline on both ends of the floor. When Quentin Post is barely seeing minutes and the rest of the bigs are undersized or aging, it raises the question of how this roster will hold up through the grind of the regular season and into the playoffs. You can't count on Al Horford and Draymond Green to bang bodies in the paint every night and still expect them to be fresh in May and June. That approach just isn't sustainable over time. What we may start seeing is a subtle shift in the rotation. Whether it's more minutes for Post to test his readiness or exploring lineup combinations that provide more length and rebounding, the coaching staff is going to have to get creative. Matchups like the one against Edey offer a glimpse into what the postseason could look like, where every possession is a chess match and every weakness gets exploited. The Warriors have always been a team that leans into versatility, but the modern NBA is forcing even the most adaptable teams to think long and hard about how they're built, and if they're built to win now or just survive. All of this makes the Steph Curry dependency even more alarming. The man is playing out of his mind, sure, but how long can he keep this up? He's not 25 anymore. He's still a cheat code offensively, but asking him to carry this much of the load every single night isn't just risky, it's unfair. It's been the same narrative for a few seasons now. When Steph's hot, the Warriors look unbeatable. But when he cools off or has an off night, things get dicey real quick. The offense starts to stagnate, ball movement slows, and suddenly they look like a team searching for answers. That's not championship DNA. That's a blueprint for burnout. That's why stories like Jimmy's free throw bet, as silly as they sound, matter. They show that at least someone else is trying to step up and raise their game. And not just through words, but by putting in the work, accepting the pressure, and setting personal challenges. That energy is contagious. And Golden State needs more of that. Whether it's Kuminga taking on a bigger scoring role, or Pods continuing to develop as a floor spacer and a secondary playmaker, this team cannot afford to be one-dimensional. Teams will eventually throw traps, doubles, and all kinds of zone looks to get the ball out of Steph's hands. The real question is, who punishes them when they do? Before we continue, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any exclusive Dubs updates. Let's keep going. In a shocking twist that has sent ripples through the NBA world, the much-anticipated clash between the Golden State Warriors and the Los Angeles Lakers was abruptly canceled at the last minute, leaving fans and analysts alike scrambling for answers. Sources close to the league suggest that the decision came down to unforeseen circumstances, though the NBA has yet to release an official statement explaining the abrupt halt to what was expected to be one of the marquee matchups of the season. Whispers around the locker rooms hint at a mix of health concerns, security issues, and logistical nightmares. Some insiders speculate that a sudden outbreak of illnesses among key players may have forced the league's hand, while others suggest that an internal dispute over broadcasting rights or arena availability could be at play. Regardless of the reason, the sudden cancellation has left both teams and their supporters in limbo, with ticket holders left wondering about refunds and rescheduling. The Warriors, fresh off a string of impressive performances, were set to showcase their star-studded lineup, including the sharpshooting guard and veteran forward whose synergy has become the talk of the season. Meanwhile, the Lakers, eager to reclaim dominance after a turbulent start, had counted on their dynamic duo to turn the tide against Golden State. Fans had already begun buzzing about potential highlight plays, buzzer-beater moments, and the heated rivalry that has defined past encounters between these storied franchises. Now, All that anticipation has turned into speculation, frustration, and, inevitably, a flood of social media chatter. Sports commentators are already debating the implications of this sudden cancellation. Will it disrupt team momentum? Could it affect playoff positioning later in the season? The questions are mounting as analysts pore over schedules, player conditions, and the league's mysterious decision-making process. Meanwhile, fans are left with a tantalizing what-if, imagining the epic duels that will now have to wait. The rumor mill is running wild, and every NBA insider seems to have a theory, none of which have been confirmed. For now, the Warriors versus Lakers showdown remains one of the most tantalizing almost games in recent memory. A match that promises excitement, drama, and fierce competition, yet exists only in whispers and speculation. Whatever the underlying cause, one thing is certain. The NBA world will be watching closely, eager to learn when, or if, this blockbuster game will finally light up the court. Stay updated exclusively with the latest Dub Nation news. Subscribe to our channel and hit the like button to keep getting daily updates on the Warriors. Don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments. Your input is essential for the Dubs community. Stay tuned for the next video.